Welcome to Max Life Man, your essential YouTube channel, expertly led by our top expert, Dr. Sterling Thorne. Dr. Thorne and his top team from the prestigious Evergreen Peaks Institute bring years of dedicated research and hands-on experience in men's health. We deliver insightful, heartfelt podcasts designed to optimize your health and unlock your best self. Gentlemen, let's cut straight through the noise. For years, we've been bombarded with empty slogans about fat loss. Just eat less, move more. Carbs are evil. Fat is the enemy. But neuroscience paints a richer, truer picture. The way your brain, hormones, and nervous system coordinate doesn't just decide whether you store fat or burn it. It dictates your energy, your focus, even your willpower. Scientists like Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford have shown that when you rewire these systems, you're not fighting uphill anymore, you're flowing with your biology. Now, before we dive deeper, let me ask you for one thing. Hit that like button, not as a favor to me, but as a declaration for yourself. Every time you tap like, you're setting an intention. You're telling your mind, your body, and yes, even the universe, I'm ready for better health, more strength, more vitality. And here's the part most men overlook. When you take that small action, doors open. Clarity comes, energy follows. And if you'll allow me a poetic touch, a little extra luck seems to land in your corner. So try it, see how it feels. You might just be surprised at what unfolds next. Why traditional fat loss advice fails extended. For years, the marching orders have been the same. Eat less, move more, sweat harder. Simple slogans shouted from every diet book and gym poster. And yet, how many men over 50 have followed that script, only to find their belt tightening while their energy vanishes? Picture this, a 55-year-old man jogging faithfully every morning, sweat dripping, lungs burning, and yet the mirror keeps whispering the same cruel truth. The belly hasn't budged. If anything, it's grown bolder. Why? Because the old equation, calories in, calories out, was never the full story. Your body isn't a calculator, it's a survival machine. According to the New England Journal of Medicine, 2021, strict calorie restriction almost always backfires. Metabolism slows to a crawl. Hunger hormones spike. Satiety hormones drop. The brain reads dieting as famine, not fitness. And let's not forget stress. A Harvard health report revealed that chronic cortisol surges not only lock fat onto the waistline, but also drag down testosterone, making fat loss an uphill climb for older men. So when a trainer barks, just push harder, what he's really saying is, ignore biology. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your nervous system, your circadian rhythm, your hormones, they are the ones calling the shots. Dieting without accounting for them is like rowing upstream with a hole in the boat. You can paddle till your arms give out, but you'll never reach shore. Think about it. When was the last time a diet plan asked you about your sleep, your light exposure, or your stress levels at work? Almost never. And yet, studies from Stanford Medicine and the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism show that poor sleep alone can reduce insulin sensitivity by up to 30%, meaning your body is more likely to store calories as fat, even if you're eating less. Add to that late-night screen time disrupting your circadian clock, and you've created the perfect storm. Low energy, stubborn belly fat, and a metabolism working against you, not for you. So when men tell me, "Doc, I'm doing everything right and nothing is working," I remind them, you're not broken. The advice you were given was, fat loss isn't about punishing your body, it's about understanding it. And until you address the brain, the hormones, and the nervous system behind the cravings and the storage, you'll always feel like you're fighting a losing war. The brain as the hidden engine of fat loss. Most men think fat loss happens in the gym or the kitchen, but the real battlefield is higher up, in the brain. Every craving, every dip in willpower, every surge of hunger begins not in the stomach, but in the hypothalamus. This tiny structure, no bigger than a grape, acts like mission control. It monitors your blood sugar, your energy reserves, your hormones, and then decides whether your body should burn fat or hold onto it. According to Nature Neuroscience, 2020, signals from leptin and ghrelin, the hormones of hunger and fullness, are interpreted in the hypothalamus long before you consciously decide what to eat. In other words, your brain calls the shots before your willpower ever enters the conversation. That's why diets built only on restriction fail. You're not just fighting appetite, you're fighting a survival circuit. And survival circuits don't lose. They adapt, they push back, and they always win if you ignore them. Think about late-night snacking. It isn't just bad habit, it's neurobiology. Studies from Stanford Medicine show that circadian rhythms shift the brain's reward response in the evening, making high-calorie foods even more tempting at night. That's why a bag of chips seems irresistible at 10 p.m. but forgettable at 10 a.m. Now let me ask you, because this is where it gets personal, have you ever noticed how your cravings spike the moment you decide to eat clean? It's almost as if the brain rebels against your new plan. Tell me in the comments, does this happen to you? Do you find the hunger louder, the cravings sharper, the moment you commit to dieting? I read your feedback, and you'd be surprised how many men share the same struggle. The brain isn't your enemy, but it demands to be understood. Until you bring it into the conversation, fat loss remains a tug-of-war. Once you do, the game changes. Mini Q and a segment. Dr. Thorne, I've been trying intermittent fasting for 6 months, but instead of losing weight, I feel tired all the time. Am I doing something wrong? That's a great question. Intermittent fasting can be powerful, but it's not a universal cure. A study in JAMA Internal Medicine, 2020, found that while fasting helps some men reduce weight, others experience muscle loss and fatigue if protein and nutrient timing aren't managed. If fasting leaves you drained, your body is telling you it needs adjustment. It's not about forcing yourself into the trend. It's about finding the rhythm that fuels your brain and metabolism. Another comment reads, I've been running 5 miles every day, but the scale hasn't moved. Is cardio broken? Here's the truth. Cardio isn't broken, but it's incomplete. Research from the American Journal of Physiology shows that high volumes of cardio can trigger adaptive responses where the body burns fewer calories to conserve energy. Strength training combined with moderate cardio shifts the signal in your brain and muscles toward fat burning and muscle preservation. Running alone, that's rowing upstream with one oar. And one more I love. Doc, are cheat meals really that bad, or can they boost metabolism like people claim? This one always makes me smile. The answer is, it depends on how you define cheat. Occasional higher-calorie meals may briefly elevate leptin and thyroid hormones, giving the metabolism a nudge. But a 2017 review in Obesity Reviews concluded that cheat days often do more harm than good, psychologically and biologically, because they reinforce binge-reward cycles in the brain. My advice, don't think in terms of cheating. Think in terms of flexibility. A planned indulgence with balance is part of living, not betraying your diet. Metabolism isn't broken, it's misfired. One of the biggest myths men carry into midlife is that their metabolism is broken. They look at the stubborn weight around their waist and think, something inside me has stopped working. But that's not what the science shows. Metabolism doesn't break, it adapts. The body's job is to keep you alive, not to keep you lean. When you cut calories too aggressively, your body senses scarcity and responds like a cautious banker. It lowers your spending. Your resting metabolic rate slows down. Every calorie is held onto a little tighter. A landmark study published in the Biggest Loser follow-up, Obesity Journal 2016 tracked contestants 6 years after the show. Even though many had lost massive amounts of weight, their resting metabolism remained hundreds of calories lower than expected. Their bodies had learned to burn less in order to defend fat stores. That's not failure, it's biology. Now add age into the equation. By the time a man reaches his 50s, he's often lost significant lean muscle mass, one of the most metabolically active tissues in the body. Less muscle means fewer calories burned at rest. This process, known as sarcopenia, has been documented extensively in the Journal of Gerontology, Medical Sciences. It's not that the metabolism is broken, it's that the fuel burners have been dismantled piece by piece. And stress plays its role, too. Chronic elevations of cortisol, whether from poor sleep, financial pressure, or constant worry, act like a brake on fat loss. Not only does cortisol encourage the storage of visceral fat, it also increases cravings for calorie-dense foods. The nervous system in survival mode keeps you locked in a cycle of fatigue and hunger. So here's the truth. Your metabolism isn't your enemy, and it isn't defective. It's misfired, misdirected by years of dieting, stress, and muscle loss. Once you understand this, the goal shifts from fixing metabolism to retraining it through muscle preservation, nervous system alignment, and lifestyle patterns that signal abundance rather than scarcity. The Huberman Connection. If you've heard the name Andrew Huberman, you already know neuroscience isn't just about lab coats and Petri dishes. It's about practical tools that change how you live. At Stanford, his lab has shown that small daily shifts, like when you get sunlight, when you eat, and even when you breathe deeply, can radically alter how your body uses energy. Take light, for example. Huberman's research demonstrates that morning sunlight resets your circadian rhythm, sharpening your alertness, lowering evening cravings, and aligning your metabolism with daylight. Miss that light, and your brain thinks it's still nighttime, slowing fat burning, encouraging late-night snacking, and throwing hormones into chaos. Or consider timing your meals. Studies from the Cell Metabolism Journal, 2019, confirm that eating earlier in the day, when your nervous system is primed for activity, leads to better glucose control and more efficient fat oxidation. It's not just what you eat, but when you eat that rewires the system. Now, let me sneak in a quick note. If you're finding this information eye-opening, here's your cue. Hit that subscribe button. Think of it like setting your own circadian rhythm for knowledge. Miss it, and you'll be wandering in the dark, wondering why everyone else looks sharper. And hey, subscribing doesn't burn calories, but it might save you from wasting years on bad advice. Huberman's work reminds us, fat loss isn't just a math problem. It's a conversation between light, brain, and body. Once you learn to time those conversations right, fat loss stops being punishment and starts becoming precision. The hormone factor. If the brain is mission control, then hormones are the messengers carrying its commands throughout the body. And when it comes to fat loss, these messengers can either open the gates or shut them tight. Take insulin. Often misunderstood, insulin isn't just a sugar hormone. It's the master switch for fat storage. When insulin levels stay elevated, whether from constant snacking, poor sleep, or excess refined carbohydrates, the body resists burning fat. The Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, 2018, showed that men with chronically elevated insulin were far more likely to accumulate visceral fat, regardless of total calories consumed. Then there's testosterone. It's not simply about masculinity, it's about metabolic power. Testosterone promotes lean muscle, and muscle is the engine that burns calories even at rest. Harvard Health notes that men with low testosterone not only lose muscle mass faster, but also face higher rates of abdominal obesity and insulin resistance. The spiral is vicious. Less testosterone, right arrow, less muscle, right arrow, slower metabolism, right arrow, more fat, right arrow, even lower testosterone. Leptin and ghrelin, the hunger and satiety hormones, round out this orchestra. When leptin signaling falters, a condition known as leptin resistance, the brain never hears the message, "I'm full." Meanwhile, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, often spikes during dieting, making restraint nearly impossible. Research published in Obesity Reviews, 2019, confirms that these shifts can sabotage even the most disciplined man. So when men over 50 tell me, "Doc, I feel like my body is fighting me," I nod, because biologically it is. The hormone network, once finely tuned, becomes disrupted by age, stress, poor sleep, and the wrong eating patterns. The good news? Hormones aren't destiny. With the right interventions, muscle preservation, sleep hygiene, and strategic eating, you can recalibrate the messengers, turning the body from a fortress of resistance into a partner in fat loss. Myth-busting segment. Last week, I received a message from a listener named Robert, 62 years old, who wrote, "Dr. Thorne, my gym buddy swears that the more I sweat, the more fat I burn. Is that really true? Because I leave the treadmill drenched, but my waistline hasn't changed." Robert, let me be clear. Sweat is not fat leaving the body. Sweat is your cooling system, not your calorie meter. The American Council on Exercise published a review reminding us that sweating reflects temperature regulation, not fat loss. You can sit in a sauna, drip a gallon of water, and step out no leaner than when you entered. What burns fat is the balance of energy systems and hormone signals, not the puddle beneath your shoes. Another feedback came from Lisa, a long-time subscriber, who said, "My husband still believes sit-ups will burn belly fat. He does 100 every night and is frustrated the belly isn't shrinking. What should I tell him?" Lisa, tell him the truth, gently. Spot reduction is a myth. Harvard Health has emphasized for years that fat distribution is systemic, not local. Sit-ups will strengthen abdominal muscles, yes, but the layer of fat above them responds to overall metabolic balance. Nutrition, hormones, nervous system alignment. If he wants to see change, he needs to treat the whole orchestra, not just the drum section. And here's one more that always makes me smile. "Doc, my neighbor insists that eating after 8 p.m. makes all food turn into fat. Should I stop late dinners entirely?" This one has floated around for decades. The truth? Timing matters, but context matters more. Research in Obesity Reviews 2020 shows that eating late can impair glucose control and shift circadian alignment. But it doesn't magically turn a 7 p.m. sandwich into fuel and an 8:01 p.m. sandwich into fat. The issue isn't the clock, it's what you eat, how much, and how your sleep-wake cycle responds. So let's bust the myths once and for all. Sweat doesn't equal fat loss, sit-ups won't torch belly fat, and 8 p.m. isn't a metabolic curse hour. These ideas linger because they sound simple. But simplicity isn't the same as truth. Practical neurohacks for burning fat. Here's where science meets practice. If the brain is the hidden engine of fat loss, then the key is learning how to tune it. The good news? You don't need a PhD or a lab coat. Just a few small neurohacks can shift your nervous system and metabolism back into alignment. These aren't magic tricks. They are ways of working with biology instead of against it. Neurohack #1, morning light before your phone. Most men wake up, roll over, and grab the phone. Within seconds, the nervous system is blasted with blue light, notifications, and stress. But your brain is still half asleep, still waiting for the signal of daylight to set the body clock. Huberman's lab at Stanford has repeatedly shown that just 10 minutes of direct morning sunlight, not through a window, not from a screen, resets your circadian rhythm. It's like flipping the switch that tells your brain, "It's morning. Time to wake, time to burn." Miss this cue and your body drifts out of sync. You'll find yourself hungrier at night, more prone to late-night snacking, and sluggish during the day. A 2019 paper in Cell Metabolism found that circadian misalignment alone can increase fat storage, even when calories remain constant. So here's the practical play. Tomorrow morning, before you check email, step outside. Let the sun hit your eyes and skin. 10 minutes is all it takes. You're not just soaking light, you're calibrating your metabolism. A 2022 review in Sports Medicine revealed something remarkable after meals. Walking for just 90 seconds after meals improved blood sugar control. Sometimes the smallest moves matter most. Why? Because the light contraction of muscles after eating pulls glucose into cells more efficiently, reducing the insulin surge that locks calories into fat storage. Picture this. You've just finished dinner. Instead of sinking into the couch, you take a short walk, maybe to the mailbox, maybe just around the block. You've just nudged your nervous system into fat-burning mode without breaking a sweat. And this isn't about burning off calories, it's about teaching your body how to handle the food you ate. The difference between fat storage and fat burning isn't always how much you eat, it's how your body interprets it. Neurohack 3, controlled breathing to switch gears. Stress is the silent fat builder, not because stress itself has calories, but because stress hormones, especially cortisol, change the body's chemistry. Chronic cortisol tells the brain, "We're under threat, hold on to fat." But here's the part most men miss. You can manually override that stress response. Controlled breathing, slow, deliberate inhales and exhales, signals the vagus nerve to calm the system. Harvard Health has documented that 5-second inhales and 5-second exhales can shift the body from sympathetic mode, fight or flight, into parasympathetic mode, rest and digest. This switch doesn't just calm the mind, it unlocks metabolic pathways for fat burning. Imagine this. After a stressful day, instead of pouring another drink or reaching for chips, you take 2 minutes for focused breathing. No equipment, no cost. And yet the nervous system shifts gears, cortisol falls, and the body opens the gate to burn. Neurohack 4, protein front-loading. If you want to tame hunger, start early. A study in the Journal of Nutrition, 2018, showed that men who consumed at least 25 grams of protein in the morning experienced lower ghrelin levels, the hormone that drives hunger throughout the day. Think of it this way: protein in the morning is like putting logs on a fire. It stabilizes blood sugar, feeds muscles, and sends a clear signal to the brain. You're nourished. No need to panic. Skip it, and you're left with the roller coaster, cereal for breakfast, hunger by 10 a.m., a sugar crash by noon, and cravings exploding by 3 p.m. Front load with protein, and suddenly the day feels steadier, the cravings quieter. Neurohack 5, cold exposure, warm results. Here's one many men overlook. Cold showers or even brief exposure to cold air stimulate brown adipose tissue, specialized fat that burns energy to create heat. A 2017 study in Nature Medicine confirmed that cold exposure activates this tissue, boosting metabolic rate and improving insulin sensitivity. You don't need an ice bath. 30 seconds of cold water at the end of your morning shower can be enough. The trick isn't torture, it's teaching the nervous system resilience. The shock of cold tells the brain, adapt, don't conserve. That adaptation extends beyond the shower into how your body burns fat. Neurohack 6, caffeine timing. Caffeine isn't the enemy, it's the timing that matters. Taken too early, especially right after waking, it can spike cortisol unnecessarily. But when used mid-morning, caffeine enhances dopamine signaling, sharpening focus and encouraging fat oxidation. Research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 2019, noted that moderate caffeine intake increased fat oxidation by up to 29% during exercise. But pair that with poor timing and it backfires. The neurohack: wait 60-90 minutes after waking before that first. You'll ride your natural cortisol rhythm instead of fighting it. Neurohack 7, meal timing matters. Late night eating isn't a curse, it's a circadian mismatch. Studies in Obesity Reviews, 2020, show that eating earlier in the day improves metabolic control even when calories are identical. The nervous system expects fuel during daylight, not midnight. So if you want fat loss to feel smoother, aim to finish your last meal 2 to 3 hours before bed. That way your brain and body align. Energy is spent during the day, recovery happens at night, pulling it all together. So here we are. Morning light, short post-meal walks, controlled breathing, protein front-loading, cold exposure, smart caffeine use, and mindful meal timing. Each one may feel small, but together they rewire the nervous system, shifting fat loss from a battle to a partnership. These hacks don't punish the body, they reassure it. They whisper, "You're safe, you're fed, you can burn now." And here's where I turn it over to you. Be honest, have you practiced any of these already? Comment 1 if you've tried even one, and 0 if you've never touched any of them. I read those comments, and I promise you, seeing your answers shapes the way I design these episodes. Because fat loss isn't about me talking, it's about us learning together. Training the nervous system. Most men see exercise as a way to burn calories, but that view is far too narrow. The real power of training lies not in the sweat dripping from your skin, but in the signals firing through your nervous system. Muscles don't move on their own. They follow instructions from the brain. And the more efficiently those instructions are delivered, the more effectively the body burns and uses energy. Research published in the Journal of Physiology, 2019, shows that consistent strength training rewires neural pathways, increasing motor unit recruitment and improving metabolic efficiency even before significant muscle growth occurs. In other words, your nervous system learns to activate more muscle fibers, which elevates your metabolic rate, not just during training but long after. This is why two men can perform the same workout, yet one burns more fat. His nervous system is better trained. Efficiency isn't about working harder. It's about teaching the brain-body connection to fire cleaner, faster, stronger. The nervous system also plays a crucial role in recovery. Exercise is a form of controlled stress. Push too hard without giving the brain time to recalibrate, and cortisol stays elevated, appetite spirals, and fat loss stalls. But when training is balanced, with periods of exertion followed by deliberate recovery, the nervous system adapts, lowering the stress set point and allowing the body to release stored fat more readily. Take resistance training as an example. Each time you perform a lift, signals travel from the brain through the spinal cord to activate muscle fibers. Repetition strengthens these pathways, like paving a road with fresh asphalt. Over time, those neural highways become faster and more automatic. The result? Movements feel easier, energy is used more efficiently, and metabolism becomes less wasteful. Aerobic exercise adds another layer. Long, steady efforts don't just strengthen the heart. They enhance the nervous system's ability to regulate oxygen and energy use. A review in the Journal of Physiology highlighted that endurance training improves autonomic balance, tipping the scale toward parasympathetic dominance. That means a calmer resting state, lower baseline cortisol, and a body more willing to burn fat instead of clinging to it. So when we talk about training the nervous system, it isn't abstract, it's practical. Every lift, every sprint, every walk after dinner is a message to your brain. This is how we use energy. This is how we burn. Over weeks and months, those messages accumulate, rewiring circuits that were once locked in storage mode. Metabolism, then, is not just about muscles or diet. It's about neuroplasticity. Just as the brain can learn a new language, it can also learn a new way to manage fuel. And that's the hidden gift of consistent training. Not simply more strength, not just more endurance, but a nervous system that remembers how to let go of excess fat. From struggle to rebuild. Last month, I received a letter from a listener named Mark, a 59-year-old from Ohio. He gave me permission to share his story because, in his words, if one man hears this and realizes he's not broken, it will be worth it. Here's what he wrote. Dr. Thorne, I spent 5 years chasing every diet plan my doctor suggested. Low carb, low fat, intermittent fasting, you name it, I tried it. For a while, the weight would come off. But then the hunger always came roaring back. I'd lose 10 pounds, gain 12. I was running 3 miles a day and still watching my belly spill over my belt. At 58, I thought my metabolism was simply dead. When I first read that, I felt the familiar ache because I've heard this story too many times. But then Mark's letter took a turn. Then I stumbled onto your podcast. At first, I rolled my eyes when you said fat loss begins in the brain, but something clicked when you explained the nervous system like an engine, how it adapts, how it misfires, how it can be retrained. For the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt teachable. Mark began with the simplest hack, morning sunlight. 10 minutes before his phone, he told me he felt more awake by 10 a.m. than I used to feel at noon. Then came the 90-second walks after meals. His blood sugar, once hovering near pre-diabetic, began to stabilize. His doctor noticed. Then he added controlled breathing at night when cravings usually hit. 2 minutes of breathing and the urge to raid the pantry was gone. My wife didn't believe it until she saw me walk past the ice cream without flinching. 6 months later, Mark is 23 pounds lighter. But more important, his words. I don't feel like I'm punishing myself anymore. I feel like my brain and my body are finally on the same team. My grandkids ask me to chase them around the yard, and I can actually keep up. Gentlemen, that's what this is all about. Not six-pack abs, not punishing workouts, but the dignity of energy, the freedom to move without pain, the quiet victory of no longer fearing the mirror. Mark's journey proves what neuroscience keeps telling us: you're not broken, you're misfired. And once you learn how to retrain the system, the body remembers. Final word and call to action. Gentlemen, let's pause here. We've traveled from the broken promises of eat less, move more, to the hidden engine of the brain, the whispers of hormones, the precision of neurohacks, and the proof that change is possible, even in the late 50s, even when you thought the best years were behind you. The truth is simple: you are not broken, you are not too old. Your metabolism has not abandoned you. It has only misfired, and it's waiting for you to take the wheel. So here's my invitation, man to man. Don't let this just be another video you scroll past. Put even one of these tools into practice tomorrow morning. Step outside into the light. Take that 90-second walk after dinner. Breathe before you reach for the snack. Watch what happens, not in a week, not in a year, but in the small moments when your energy returns, when your body remembers how to burn, how to move, how to live. And now I need something from you. Hit that like button, not as a favor, but as a declaration. Drop a comment below. Tell me if you're A1 who's tried these hacks or A0 who's starting fresh. Share this video with another man in your life who needs to hear that he's not broken. And don't forget to subscribe, because every week we're building not just knowledge, but a brotherhood of men reclaiming their health. From all of us here at Max Life, I want to thank you. Your time, your trust, your stories, like Mark's, are why we do this. I wish you strength for the journey, clarity for the choices ahead, and above all, health that lasts. Until next time, take care of your body, train your mind, and remember, the engine isn't gone, it's waiting to be rebuilt.